Good evening. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, June 6th, and we'll call this meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Basbus Rath. Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Commissioner Basbus Rath did have a conflict with a family event tonight, so we need somebody to excuse her.
I will make that motion to excuse Commissioner Basbus Rath, sorry.
Support. Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
She is excused. If everybody that can stand, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Nice to see a crowd in the gallery tonight for our meeting. Item 4 is mayor comments and general announcements. Linda Hoth has reminded me 4 times today that I need to mention Back to the Bricks Car Show, which is happening tomorrow from 4 to 7 on Portage Avenue. Portage Avenue will be closed from Ashland to Magazine. There'll be 219 cars, and it's a great event, and we're really happy to see them back this year. So Back to the Bricks tomorrow. CVB puts a lot of time and energy into attracting some of these events, so please come down and talk to the drivers and see all the cars and everything they have to offer. A couple things we had since the last meeting I just wanted to touch on real quick. Chamber Economic Lunch. I know that most of the commission and admin were able to go. This year, the Chamber brought in Neil Kashkari, who is president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. Very intelligent, respected person. And he, by education, is an aerospace engineer, so he sincerely is a rocket scientist. But he turned into an investment banker and has been the Federal Reserve Bank president for, what do you say, 3 years, 4 years? The Federal Reserve Bank is independent from politics, and they control the money supply by setting rates and buying and selling securities. And they try to maintain a 2% optimum inflation rate, which is really hard to do when legislature puts money into the economy that they're not expecting, and some of the other things that happen that change. But the one thing I did like upon a question, I can't remember who it was, it might have been one of you, but when he was asked what people can do locally, he talked about supporting broadband, local economic development, the need for more housing, and just be a welcoming community. So good comments, I thought, from a pretty intelligent guy. I also had the opportunity to go to Michigan Municipal League Education Summit, which was held every year until we got to COVID times. And this is the first year back. So it was in Marquette, and it's all of the communities, all of our peers from the Upper Peninsula. It's the only region in the state that does it, that gets together still. And it allows us to commiserate, I guess, and also to learn a little bit from some of the leaders in the state on what's going on, and sometimes the legislators will be there. And they talked about some of the legislative issues that are impacting UP communities, and I thought just a couple of them. He went on for hours, as Brian knows Dan can do, but one of the things that has impacted the communities that we've talked about for a long, long time is revenue sharing, and the scheme that we have in the state of Michigan where it's broken into 2 pots, and our sales taxes go into that pot, and then they're supposed to disseminate it to the state. Well, whenever the state gets a little pinch, they don't pass it along. So there is legislation moving forward for a revenue sharing trust fund where the monies will go directly into the trust fund, not to be touched by the legislature and go through the budget process, which would be a great thing for communities like ours across the state. The other thing that they're looking at is a municipal pension principal payment grant program, which would assist communities that have less than 60% funding in their pensions, which is City of Sault Ste. Marie. So we're looking forward to seeing how some of those things move forward. Michigan Municipal League is a great entity, and they really do help communities and advocate for communities on a level that we really can't. The one thing that was shocking, but maybe not shocking, is the state has $14 billion in excess funding. So the last several years have been a windfall for the state. Believe it or not, during COVID, their revenues exceeded what they anticipated. They have $14 billion, and some of that money goes back even to the last administration that they got from the federal government. So if you talk to your legislators, it's time for that money to flow through to local government. Another thing that they talked about was, and Linda Hoth has talked about this before, we all have kind of myopic vision when we live in a community, but they said, see your space through the eyes of a visitor, because you really do have a different perspective that way. Also, they talked about land bank, development grants and loans, and I know that City of Sault Ste. Marie has, through Brian, has contracted to work with the land bank, which is kind of an innovative way to hold land and be able to develop land. And they have grants and loans available to be able to build homes, build housing, and different developments. So look forward to what that can bring. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, just briefly, is we just finished our budget process, and as we know, it was lean, but we were able to fund most of the essential services that the City of Sault Ste. Marie needs to deliver to residents. And I know that there are a lot of roads that we'd like to do, but just don't have the money right now, but there will be a look in the future. And some of our peer communities and some of the other communities, you may have seen in the news, Marquette is having a significant budget issue right now. And they're looking to raise their taxes by 2.7 mils, which will impact people, their homeowners, by $285 per person. And it's to fill a $2 million gap in their budget. So just want to thank administration who got our budget in line, and we were able to actually put a couple $1,000 into the general fund. Their fund balance in 2018, 4 years ago, was $14 million. They expect it to be zero in 2024. So we're not the only community, but I think that City of Sault Ste. Marie's done an excellent job at managing through very difficult times, and we certainly appreciate that. So moving on to, we'll move right into C, public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments on any of our scheduled agenda items this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on into D, the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Just really quick before Robin starts, just a reminder that the application for Zach McClellan was pulled off. So assuming everything else is fine in the consent agenda, we look for a motion to approve the consent with the exception of Zach McClellan's DDA application.
Commissioner Bauer has a
Just
question before.
Yeah, I was gonna wait until we read the consent agenda, but since you brought that up, there's just one small error here that applicant withdrew application for appointment actually appears on the Allison Young's reappointment and not on Zach McClellan's. So there are actually two things that we need to consider there if we're taking, if we're taking this at its face for what it says.
Okay, Robin will fix it.
Good catch.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Would have helped that I had my mic on, but there you go.
We heard you.
As always.
Under the consent agenda, 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of May 16th, 2022. Item 2, acceptance of the Airport Advisory Board meeting minutes of April 14th, 2022. Item 3, acceptance of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of April 12th, 2022. Item 4, acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of January 12th, February 9th, March 9th, April 13th, and May 16th, 2022. Item 5, acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of April 12th. Item 6, acceptance of the Police and Fire Pension Board meeting minutes of April 20th. Item 7, acceptance of the Tax Increment Finance Authority 3 meeting minutes of April 12th. Item 8 was pulled from the agenda. Item 9, reappointment of Allison Youngs to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire April 1, 2025. Item 10, appointment of Dr. Allen, VP for Finance and Operations of LSSU to the Local Development Finance Authority. Item 11, resignation of David Lockhart from Zoning Board of Appeals effective May 16th, 2022. Item 12, consideration of authorized depositories, banking resolution, and investment policy as of July 1, 2022. Item 13, consideration of a maintenance agreement resolution for the new Ashman Street bridge sign. Item 14, from Chippewa County Community Foundation, authorization to sell liquor on city-owned property for the Sault Ste. Marie River Fest, which was formerly known as Sioux Ultimate Paddle Day, on Saturday, August 20th, 2022, subject to the rules of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission and any rules established by the city manager. And item 15 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager. Would anybody like any of these items further explained, or any of the other items besides number 8 removed for individual consideration? Commissioner Miller.
I just had a quick question. What does number 8 and number 9 have to do with each other? What Commissioner Bauer said, I didn't understand what.
So number 8 is the application of the DDA board from Zach McClellan. He withdrew today, and there's a note in Allison Young's that says she withdrew. That note should be in Zach McClellan's, not Allison's. So Robin's just gonna fix that on her end.
Thank you. I just didn't see the correlation, sorry.
So number 8 is removed from the consent agenda. Commissioner Twardy.
I so move that we approve the consent agenda with the changes noted.
Support.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Moving to E, special orders of business. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission consideration is a review of the 4 applicants for the open commission seat. As the commission discussed during the last meeting, we wanted to have an open process to anybody that was interested in it. We received 4 applications. They're included in your packet. There was discussion in the last meeting of interviewing people that were interested in it during a special meeting on June 8th. At that time, the commission was only looking to do about 5 interviews, but we have 4. So I would recommend forwarding all 4 to the special meeting for June 8th for interviews and final consideration.
Thank you, City Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments? Certainly. Whoop, Commissioner Bauer.
Sorry. But I need a whistle over here. One thing I wanted to bring up, and as you may all recall, that I was the one that wanted to open it up beyond the original candidates anyway. And I see here that Rick Miller, who happens to be in the audience tonight, so this is good, because my question has to do with Rick Miller's application, and that is that, you know, not too many weeks ago, when I was filing my petitions, Rick had signed my petition, and that was kicked back. His signature was deemed invalid, that he did not live in the city. So obviously, that would question, you know, now I'm questioning, and if Rick could, you know, explain, or maybe even, you know, maybe the deputy city manager would have something to say about that, since you were part of reviewing those, because Rick Miller may not be eligible to hold the office. I'm just questioning.
Do you have any
Good
insight, Robin?
questions.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Robin, do you have anything?
Without looking at your petition specifically, it could have been his signature didn't match the voter file, it could have been address didn't match, it could have been the date that he signed it, but without looking at your petition to see where the discrepancy was of why it wasn't counted.
Right. I do remember at the time, though, that I was told, and this is just my memory, that I was told that that he did not, you know, that address did not match, and that he did not live in the city.
So I did look him up today, and the address that he has on his filing today matches the voter file. So
All
without
right.
looking at your petition, I'm not sure what the discrepancy was at the time, but I'm happy to research it.
I don't think there's a need. If you looked, you looked. That was just, it was a question I had, so
Yeah.
there you go.
Any other questions or comments? That was a good one. And looks like we have Andrew Rubenstein, Rick Miller, and Stephen Haboost in the audience, so good to see you here. Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
I'll just make a quick comment, Your Honor, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I think I missed the last meeting because I was COVID positive, so I think you passed along my comments very graciously, and I appreciate it. I was appointed to the City Commission in December of 2017, having recently just barely lost the election that fall. It was always my contention that when someone resigned or there was an opening on the spot, you should go back to the last election and maybe take the next highest vote getter. That's always been my opinion. I have not changed my opinion on that, but before this process goes on any further, I'd like to explain myself a little bit. And like I said, I think you passed my comments along pretty nice the last meeting, Your Honor. But since our last election, we've had a couple of things happen. We had Commissioner Baker resign, and as far as I know, and Robin can back me up or tell me I'm wrong, no one that was on the ballot with me that year that I ran put their name in to be appointed to Commissioner Baker's seat. And now, we're in the middle of another election process to go into November, and as far as I know, no one that was on the ballot with me back in 2019 has put their name in to run for election this time. So I didn't want anyone to think I was a hypocrite. I really do believe we should go back to the next election. I really believe you should go back to the next highest vote getter, which is kind of how I'm sitting in this seat today. But the thing is, no one stepped forward in the last 2.5, 3 years to say they were really interested. So I'm going along with this appointment process, and I'm going to do the best I can do to pick someone to fill this seat. But I don't want anyone to say, well, a couple years ago he said next highest vote getter. Now he's changing his mind. I'm not changing my mind. Nobody stepped up and said they want this seat, or do they want the next 4-year term? So I just wanted to make myself clear, and I really think you made myself clear 2 weeks ago, but thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like to make the motion while your mic's on?
I shut my mic off, though. Motion to schedule interviews with all 4 applicants during the June 8th special commission meeting.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. We will see everybody on Wednesday at 7 PM in this room. Whoops. So, moving on into E, special orders of business, number 2, city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a public hearing and confirmation of the single lot special assessment rolls SL1N-22 and SL1W-22. This is our annual process that rolls over the unpaid water bills and unpaid code enforcement bills to the property tax bills. So before a final motion and vote can be had on this item, we'll have to have a special or a public hearing.
So we'll open the public hearing for single lot assessment roll SL1N-22 and SL1W-22. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions or comments on the single lot assessment rolls? Again, this is a public hearing for single lot assessment rolls. So we will close the public hearing. Any questions from the city commission? Commissioner Bauer, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. So moved that we confirm single lot special assessment roll SL-1N-22 and SL-1W-22.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a quick comment.
Sure.
This is the shortest list on these rolls that I've seen in like 15 years. It's a short list.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
So it has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much. Under G, business items, we'll move to number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission consideration is a request for a public hearing on June 20th regarding possible street meters along Portage and Ashman Street. This is kind of coming out of some of the changes that we discussed recently from the parking operations. There's an opportunity to meter Portage and Ashman. Currently, it's not metered. As we're looking at getting parking kiosks to install in the parking lots, we thought it'd be a good time to have a discussion about possibly purchasing more kiosks to put along Ashman and Portage. Both those sections, for the most part, aren't metered right now. Director Collins put together some cost or revenue estimates. If we were to meter Ashman and Portage Street, conservatively, we'd be looking at about $116,000 per year at the current rates to go into the parking fund. The parking fund is an enterprise fund. It hasn't supported its own for the longest time. It has seen subsidies from other funds in excess of about $400,000 over the last 10 years or so. There's an efficiency with an enforcement standpoint if we were to move to these parking kiosks as well. Right now, since we don't have meters, it is free 2-hour parking, and trying to enforce the 2-hour parking restriction at times is difficult, but if there was a mechanism there that tracked the time for those vehicles, it'd make us a little bit more efficient there. So included in your packet is some financial history and revenue loss calculations for these particular areas. We understand that there will probably be some discussion outside of the commission from the business community, so we'd be requesting a public hearing to further discuss this.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments for the City Manager? Commissioner Twardy?
Just a quick question. So on some areas, well, let's just say specifically my block, there is a 30-minute parking spot on that block. Will that 30-minute parking spot still be able to be
Yep.
there?
Yep,
Okay.
so the kiosks that we're looking at right now are the same ones, maybe you've seen them in the news, that the city of Marquette just installed. And the kiosks are able to administer their fee schedule, and within their fee schedule, the city of Marquette has a 15-minute free parking window. So the person using the parking space still has to go to the kiosk to register their license plate that they're getting the 15 minutes free. And that way enforcement knows they're only there for 15 minutes. They won't write them a ticket. So there is a means with the kiosks to be able to accommodate kind of short-term parking like that. So yes, it will be able to, those will be able to remain.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bauer, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, actually, it is a question and a comment. And I'll say up front, and I know this isn't really the time for it, but I'm against taking away the free parking on Ashland and Portage there. But I see here, in the explanation and everything, it says here, of the 499 tickets issued over the past 6 months, and how many were locals and an overwhelming number were, et cetera. But my question is, why are we only looking at the 6-month period when November to May certainly would skew toward locals, where all the out-of-town people are here, mainly in the summertime? Why aren't we looking, why isn't that statistic for an entire year where we can get a more accurate picture?
We switched tracking software, so the only data that we have available to us is 6 months.
All right. So there.
Any other questions or comments? I'm assuming the DDA will reach out to affected property owners down there so that we have,
The interim DDA director will. It's me.
you looked at, okay, I thought it was you. Yeah, okay. All right.
No, we will do that, and we'll have we'll take up the DDA meeting as well and get some feedback from them, but, just kind of starting off this discussion. We do see some positives in there. If the parking fund had the ability to be a little bit more self-sufficient, obviously we free up funds from the other areas that are subsidizing it. We can provide some more services, more enforcement, but we do see a positive benefit to doing it, so. But yes, we will contact the business owners as well as have the item taken up to the DDA at their next meeting here.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make this motion?
Sure, Your Honor. Motion to schedule a public hearing for June 20th to receive input regarding metering Ashman and Portage Street.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. And again, that'll be June 20th, right here at the next city commission meeting. G, business items number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is the final fiscal year's budget adjustments. Included in your agenda item is a very detailed report that Director Collins put together that outlines her recommended changes based on the particular fund. We would look for a motion to approve the adjustments as presented.
Well, that was quick. For a 40-page, Commissioner Twardy, do you have any questions?
It was just a comment for Director Collins. I really, really appreciated the detail of this report, and I liked how you separated out each portion of the budget and then explained each one of them, and then explained at the bottom the fiscal impact on just that specific budget, and then how you recapped it at the end. I don't remember the detail being there prior with the little red numbers and stuff like that, and then the transfers in, transfer out. So I really appreciate that, so thank you so much.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Commissioner. Good comments. It's always very detailed when Finance Director does it, and I was just teasing you, but I think everybody in the audience and online should know that it's a very long report, and there are a lot of numbers, so it would have taken City Manager probably an hour and a half to go through that, so. Commissioner Twardy, would you like to make the motion?
Absolutely. Motion to authorize budget revisions for the 2021-22 fiscal year as detailed in the very long report and attachments.
Support.
So it has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? We'll do roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Under G, business items number 3, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to award a bid for the reconstruction and upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant concerning the screw pumps. So the screw pumps are one of the bigger processes at the headworks of the wastewater treatment plant. There's a link in the agenda item that would explain to you what these screw pumps are. It's not necessarily our plant, but the concepts are the same. So this is a project that's been in our books since 2013. We did an RFP. We received 2 back. The low bid coming in at Fisher Contracting Company for the amount of $570,000. The project has a couple $100,000 budgeted to it, but we are requesting additional funds from the Sewer Capital Reserve in the amount of $350,000. This project, once it's complete, will replace 3 pumps. 3 pumps. One is currently not working and hasn't worked for the last couple of years, and the other 2 are at a low functioning standpoint. So we'll be replacing 3 screw pumps. So we look for a motion to award the contract to Fisher Contracting in the amount of $570,000 and amend the project budget with the extra funds coming from the Capital Sewer Reserve in the amount of $350,000.
Thank you, City Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments for him? Commissioner Miller, would you like to? Just 2
Sure, Your
separate
Honor.
motions?
Yeah, I've seen those screw pumps in action, and I've smelled those screw pumps in action. I think
Thanks for-
570,000, I wouldn't get me down there for $570,000.
Maybe we should put the visual on the screen.
Yeah.
We've got pictures
Only
and
if you had,
video.
only if you had smell-o-vision. Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we award the bid to low bidder Fisher Contracting Company, a Michigan firm, in the amount of $570,000.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer.
Yes.
Motion passed. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we amend the project budget to as-bid costs with additional funds to come from the sewer capital reserve in the amount of $350,000.
Support. I was waiting for Tim because I stepped on him last time.
It's been moved and double supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Under G, business items, number 4, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next is a request to purchase a Shorelight trench box system from Cundell Industries for the purchase price of $14,450.14. Long story short, trench box is the tool that will go into the ditch for our utility crews. It's kind of a requirement from OSHA, past a certain depth and past a certain width. It prevents the walls from caving in on the employees as they're down there. So it's something we don't have on hand right now, but it'll make us a little bit more effective. So there are funds budgeted in the current fiscal year, about $25,000, with the purchase only being $14,000. The remainder of those funds will be returned to the Water Capital Reserve. So look for a motion to award the purchase of Shorelight trench box to Cundell for the amount of $14,415.14.
Thank you, City Manager. Commissioner Miller.
Did this go out for bids, or is,
Yes, sir. Sorry, we received 2 bids.
okay,
Uh,
I didn't see any bids on here but that one.
Your first document,
I didn't get that far, thanks. Just wanted to make sure we weren't doing a no.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Tuorty.
I'd just like to say, now I know what a trench box is, so thank you. I learned something today.
there you go.
Would you like to make the motion?
Sure. Motion to award the purchase of a Shorelight trench box system to Tundell Industries for the purchase price of $14,415.14.
Support.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is request to resubmit an application to the Department of Eagle, the Brownfield program. Currently, there's a grant out for the Mac Building redevelopment. It's $850,000. They've hit some unexpected issues with some of their work, and they've asked Eagle for an additional $150,000 to take the grant up to the maximum $1 million award. So the 2 motions in here adjust the budgets to record the increased revenue, and then to authorize expenditures should the awards be, or should the funds be awarded. So, yeah.
Thank you, City Manager. Commissioner Miller.
Can I ask what the problems that have been with their construction?
Nikki, anything you can comment on?
And Nikki Radke is here from the EDC. Thank you for attending tonight.
Yes. There's been more demolition costs than they were expecting, and the vapor mitigation system is a little bit more expensive with costs increasing.
So they're doing vapor mitigation now?
Yes,
And
yep.
not before they fix the building up?
They just finished, or they're working, they just finished the demolition process, and then they just got the bid in for the vapor mitigation system, but have not purchased it yet.
But that means there's tainted soil there, that's what you're talking about? It's tainted
Yes.
soil. But they didn't check that before they did the construction up to this point?
From my understanding, it was more in the underlying of the concrete than they were expecting.
Okay.
Commissioner Tuorty.
This project does not impact me directly. However, Carol McClellan, the owner of this building, is my landlord. But again, I have nothing to do with this project directly. So I do not want to abstain from voting on this. I just wanted to mention that.
I think you should vote on it. Any other questions or comments? Certainly, it's a big project, and with any big project, you do run into things that are unanticipated, like their water hookups, I think, that closed Portage for a couple of days last year. And we certainly are very happy that they are investing in Sault Ste. Marie, and they own a lot of businesses down there. And I'm glad that we have the Brownfield program available to help them out with some of these projects. To imagine putting $1 million into a building like that to renovate and rehab and improve certainly is beyond the means of most people. So certainly, thank you very much to the McClellan family. And oddly, the gentleman that's working on it is also named McClelland, so through Eagle. So, Commissioner Bauer, would you like to make the motion? Or?
Sure. I move to approve the budget amendment from $850,000 to $1 million to include increased grant funding from Eagle Renew Michigan contingent upon grant amendment approval by Eagle.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Further, I move to adjust the project budget to include the additional $150,000 of Eagle grant funds to Task 3, due care activities to support increased costs related to hazardous waste disposal and vapor mitigation system installation.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion also passed. Thank you very much. Moving on into G, business items number 6. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to hold 2 public hearings related to staff's recommendation to demolish the old water pump building over by Sherman Park. We've had a couple of you take a tour of it now, and there were some comments that we should probably do a public hearing to get some more input on the proposed demolition, so that's what we're going after here. So we have a motion to schedule public hearings for June 20th and July 5th. It's my intention to bring the contracts to you on July 5th for final consideration. So we'll have a public hearing June 20th. We'll do another one on July 5th, and then we'll follow up with final action on that item, so.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Bauer, you were on that tour the other day, and you had a
Maybe one
contract
cry,
on that
really.
building one time, yeah, so any,
But you know what? I mean, it's got to come down. And we have an offer, right? Or I wouldn't say an offer, but yeah, we have a deal right now that looks like it's, going to be pretty good as far as taking that down for not a whole lot of money. It's going to save the city a lot of money. The building's not really safe. People break it, kids largely break into it all the time. There have been fires in there. There's crap. There's literally feces all over the place in there. There's asbestos in the basement. Yeah, I mean, it's bad, trust me.
so we'll have a couple of public hearings. And I think Commissioner Tuori, you said today when we had a conversation that, it's a great looking building, but McClellan's have to put $1 million into the building on Portage to get it back up to usable shape. Can you imagine what the city would have to put into that building? It's
You'd never get that money
Unachievable,
back. You would never recoup the money that it would cost to rehab that facility.
Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make a motion to schedule the public hearings?
Sure, Your Honor. And one thing I'd like to make a quick comment. Maybe 20 years ago, that building had a chance of having some backbone, to maybe do it to something, but the city wasn't ready to get rid of it at that point. So, yes, I'd love to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for June 20th, 2022, and July 5th, 2022.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will have public hearings on June 20th, 2022, and July 5th, 2022 at our regularly scheduled city commission meetings. So if you have any questions or comments in regard to the old pump house at Sherman Park, please be there. Under G, business items, number 7, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to approve a local intergovernmental agreement between the city, various other municipalities within Chippewa County, and the county of Chippewa County for a designated assessor. So long process short. The state requires a county to have a designated assessor that can step in a city or a township should the state tax commission so deem that it needs to happen. There are certain criterias and education requirements to be a designated assessor. Right now in the county, I believe there's only one assessor, and that is our assessor, Tina, that can serve in that capacity. So this is a request from the county to approve an agreement that if there are issues, Tina would step in as a designated assessor. Your approval tonight is not approving Tina as the designated assessor, it's just the contractual relationship. So should she have to step in and assist a township or another local unit of government, her time is paid by a different pot of money. It's not going to come off of our payroll or out of any of our funding. So it's budget neutral to us, but it is something we have to have approved. So
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments on that one? Commissioner Twardy?
Make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement as presented.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Under G, business items, number 8, City Manager Chapman.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last but not least, I have a couple of items that I would like to discuss with the commission in a closed session. To be able to enter into a closed session, we have to approve the motion for Section 8A and Section 8C regarding the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, City Manager. Commissioner Miller, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I would, Your Honor, thank you. Motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Section 8, my glasses are fogging up, -A of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act in order to consider a periodic personnel evaluation of a public officer and for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements in accordance with Section 8-C of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act at the end of the meeting. Commissioner Bospis Rath would have loved that one.
Yeah. Is there support?
Support.
It has been moved and supported that we move into closed session. Will we be coming back from closed session for any decisions? And so, any questions or comments? We have a roll call. You need a unanimous roll call for this. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we will be moving into closed session at the end of our meeting and will not be back. Moving on into item H, which is city manager announcements and updates. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few project updates going here for you all. The update for the Safe Routes to School is actually supposed to be for the Downtown X Placemaking. So Downtown X Placemaking project, the Arlington parking lot will be paved the week of the 13th. They're in there doing landscape and electrical work right now. That aspect should be wrapped up pretty soon. If you've done a walkthrough along Court Street or even the Oka Alley area, you'll see that there's some issues with the concrete and the red stamped brick. We are aware of some of the issues. They're chipping really bad and kind of falling apart. We're not quite sure what happened, but the engineers have been through with the project managers as well as the contractors. They're going to start looking at redoing some of those areas once the Arlington parking lot is done. So it'll be coming up here in the next few weeks. We're not sure why there are issues. The concrete just didn't hold up, and there was probably some scraping from the snow plows, but it shouldn't have been to that extent. So we're going to be working with the contractors in the next couple of weeks to figure out how to fix all that. Safe Routes to School grant, we were awarded a Safe Routes to School grant. That work will probably start next summer. We've got a staff meeting regarding that this week or next week. We'll give you a little bit more details about that when we have it. Water meter projects are nearing the end of it. I sent you an email last week about possible water turn-offs for households that weren't responsive. I think at that time, we had 750 or so, and Kurt got an update at the end of Friday, and I think it's down to 300. 350. We honestly don't think that they've gotten that many in the last 2 days, the last week. We think they fudged a number on the report to us. So 350 is more accurate in terms of the number of meters that we have to still get out there. But we are continuing to knock on doors. We are continuing to try to make contact with those homeowners. But if we don't have any resolution or a meeting scheduled to install the meters, we will take the necessary steps to turn off the water to kind of force their hand to it. So just a heads up on that one. That should start probably this week, next week, depending on staff availability. The West Portage project, that's going to start the first week of August. That's West Portage from Easter Day all the way down to Governor Osborne. 3 Mile Road was supposed to start today, but they weren't ready, so they're going to start tomorrow. So there'll be detours up. Power Canal project, we have a pre-construction meeting Thursday the 9th, so that one will be finished up here within the next couple of months of the summer here. And the Kemp Marina repairs to the fuel lines, the utility lines, should be wrapped up here in the next couple of days as well. I have a note on here for the July meeting. I don't remember why. And I will be out of the office the dates that are listed in the agenda item, and I'll send you an email reminder as they get closer to that. So
Is the first meeting in July changed because of the holiday?
that's
perhaps?
probably what it is. Thank you.
Oh, so it's on a Tuesday.
Yes, so it's on a Tuesday because of the holiday. So the commission meeting will be on a Tuesday. That's why I had it on there. Thank you, sir. So,
All right, thank you, City Manager. Any other questions or comments for the City Manager? Thank you for your calendar skills, Commissioner Miller.
Exactly.
Commissioner Tuarte.
I just have a question about the Power Canal Walkway. When we're all done with this, is it possible for us to take a look at it and maybe come back at some point and put some lighting in some of the darker areas?
I don't want to say no. We can take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other questions or comments? Moving on into item I, which is matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments in front of the commission? And sure, if you'd come to the microphone and give us your name and residence, not street address.
Hi, I'm George Ranville, and I'm a candidate for the 37th Senate District. I am a resident of Mackinac City. I've been 4 years on this village council. I've been the finance committee chairman, and I feel your pain about revenue sharing and unfunded mandates from the state, especially when you see there's $18 billion sitting there when we're trying to figure out how much money we have to plant flowers. So I was a military officer, lieutenant commander. I own Beardamac Brew Works in Mackinac City, and I do business with lots of businesses up here and throughout northern Michigan. I have some information that I'd like to pass out to those who are interested and would like to talk to anybody further. I'll be available for questions and comments in the back. Thank you for your time. This has been an enjoyable meeting in a lovely city. Thank you.
Thank you for attending, George. Luckily, you got a short agenda tonight. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into item J, which is matters presented by the City Commission. City Commissioners, Commissioner. Yeah. We were able to attend. We had a great Memorial Day parade and ceremony, and I think the organizers are the American Legion of VFW, and they do a excellent job. And it was a beautiful night and a beautiful service, and I know that several of us were able to attend. So, thank you very much. And just so I get bonus points here, back to the Bricks Car Show tomorrow, 4 to 7 on Portage. So 4 to 7 on Portage. Commissioner Bauer.
Congratulations to the Sioux High class of 2022. If any of them are watching right now, I would be incredibly shocked.
Is your daughter watching?
No, I could, I could count the amount of meetings she's watched on TV on one hand.
Yeah.
And I think that was all when I was off board, because I had it on the TV.
I got 4 kids, and I don't think they've ever watched one in 15 years, so don't feel bad.
I don't.
Anybody else have any, Commissioner Miller?
First of all, I think you plugged the car thing twice, so she doesn't call you 4 times
Twice.
tomorrow, right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Kind of piggybacking on what you said at the beginning of the meeting, Your Honor, when you were at the MML in Marquette, who did you say made the comment about if you want to know how you're, like, see yourself through the eyes of people who come to your community? Who was that? I mean,
It was one of the presenters. It was actually kind of an interesting guy. He came from, they brought him in from Wisconsin, and he was an organizer of some art fairs and some events in communities, and kind of trying to, inspire, I think.
Well, it struck me
community
when,
officials,
it struck
so,
me when you said that,
yeah.
because we get a lot of phone calls. I know all the commissioners, and I know administration gets a lot of phone calls about, how come the bathrooms aren't ready here? How come this isn't ready? How come this? I had the chance to camp at Ani Osborne for 2 days this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Tricia and Dylan down there do a wonderful job. I hate to even say this, but their bathrooms down there were cleaner than my bathroom at home. It was wonderful. Checking in was seamless. They were friendly, and they were helpful, and they're nice, and I just wanted to send kudos out to them. What a great job they're doing down there. It's a great facility.
Good comments,
That was very
Commissioner.
nice. That's seeing a tourist come to town through your own eyes, and it was wonderful. I'm sure everyone's going to have a good experience down there when they come. And if the commission will indulge me for a second, I don't usually use this forum to talk about this, but yesterday was my friend Mary Berry's birthday, 82nd birthday from Rudyard. I know you know Mary. She's a good customer of yours. Her and her husband are good friends with your mom and dad. She was a school teacher in Rudyard for 35 years, well respected. Even though she lives in Rudyard and she doesn't live in Sault Ste. Marie, she had a big impact on a lot of people here in Sault Ste. Marie, a lot of volunteer work, and her biggest one being with the Alberta House Council. And I just wanted to send a I hope I can get through this without choking up, because she's a dear friend of mine. If it wasn't for her a few years ago when I got sick, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now. And I send her my birthday wishes, my adoration, and love.
Very nice, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Twardy, would you like to make the motion?
Make a motion that we adjourn and move into closed session.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.